This is Brevité's the Jumper. It's something between a day bag where you might bring one body and a couple of lenses, but I can see this actually being used in a professional setup if you're clever with packing. One of the things I like about a smaller bag like this is that you have to choose which lenses you want to bring, and in doing so, which lens you want to leave behind. So lately I've been using my Fuji XE4 with a 35 f2 on it, and it's quite small, so it's not going to take up a lot of space, a lot of real estate inside of this bag. In fact, I could put a much longer lens on this camera in this compartment without really losing any space whatsoever. What's made me choose the 35mm lens on a Fuji XE4 is that it is quite compact. It's not the shortest lens you can get for this system, but it is still quite small. And because a XE4 is a crop sensor camera, the 35 is closer to a 50mm lens, which is like the standard lens on most film cameras, and that's what I'm trying to emulate with this XE4. From there, I like to have a small compact lens, and I've been bouncing back and forth between the 18mm f2 and the 27mm f2.8. And since I have the 35 now, the 27mm is a little bit too close to the focal length that I want to use, so I've been throwing the 18mm in there to give me a 28mm field of view, or thereabouts. So I have options. I have an 18mm to 55mm zoom lens. It's one of the kit lenses that comes with these cameras, and it is fantastic, but since I already have a 18mm f2 in my kit, I can leave this one behind. That said, I have this 56mm Viltrox lens. It is a 1.4, which gives me a lot more depth of field and creamy backgrounds when compared to the similar sized 18 to 55. So then it comes down to, what do you want to sacrifice? Do you want the convenience of a zoom lens, or do you want the faster aperture of a prime? And like I said, since I already have an 18mm in there, I don't really need this zoom lens, so I'll opt for the 56. From there, I don't shoot with long lenses very often, but I have been reaching for this a lot more often since I went on vacation recently, and I wanted something that could see a little further without having to switch to a long lens like a vintage 200mm or something like that. So I think this really covers my entire long range. It's a 55 to 200, and you wouldn't think so, but even though this lens is quite tall, I can actually set it upright in here and close the top, with the zipper being able to shut all the way. As you can see, I have a lot of space left in this backpack, which makes you think, maybe I should bring more lenses, but for a day pack, having more lenses actually makes things a little bit more difficult. You become indecisive. So rather than adding more lenses, I like to add accessories and things that might help me while I'm out all day. Obviously, when using a digital camera, you're going to need media, so usually I throw one of these cheap Amazon card holders into the bag, and that is way more media than I'd ever need in one day, even if I was shooting like a madman, but it gives you options. So that can go in here, or alternatively, I can put it in the front. And the front of this bag is actually quite interesting because it has so many extra pouches. So this is where I tend to put my accessories, like my SD cards, or my charger for my batteries, as well as usually 3 spare batteries. I don't often go through more than 2 batteries when I'm out for a few hours, but it's nice to have extras just in case you feel like shooting a little bit more. And those can also go in the front pocket. Like that, and there's still plenty of room. From there, I have to film myself while I'm out, and I like to keep it really, really simple. So I use this version 1 DJI OSMO Pocket to film practically everything I'm doing while I'm out, unless otherwise stated in my videos. and that can also fit very nicely in the front pouch of this bag without being too bulky. Sometimes I end up photographing at night and I want to add a little light to my images. So I have this tiny little Fuji EF X8 flash, and it just fits in the top of your camera without really taking up any room. I mostly use this if I'm going to be shooting parties or receptions sometimes when I do weddings. And it just goes in the bag and it takes up absolutely no space. Of course, sometimes your lenses get dirty, fingerprints and whatnot, or your LCD gets smudges all over it. Also good to have a microfiber cloth. And if you are out for quite a long time, it's nice to be able to charge your phone or your batteries. And this is a very cool one, which has a iPhone charger built into it, or a USB-C and USB micro built into it, so you can charge your batteries either directly through the camera with the USB-C or through the charger with the USB micro. It also has a little LCD indicator on the bottom showing you how much battery is left, which is absolutely fantastic, as well as you can plug it directly into the wall, but this also folds away. The goal with any day bag, something of this size, is to stay pretty light. So because I left some lenses behind, I actually have much more I can put into this. And the nice thing about this bag is it has a top compartment that is separate from the compartment at the bottom, which holds your gear. And up here, I like to put the charger that I just showed you in here, as well as a small notebook and a pen. Just in case I want to make notes on the go or I have an idea for some shots, I can just write it on here and put it in. And that just zips right out. You can also put a change of clothes. Sometimes I put a rain jacket in here. I don't like to work on a laptop very often, but if you did, you can also put your laptop back here. It can hold up to a 15-inch, but sometimes I just put more paper in there, a script if I'm shooting a film, something like that. As well as it has this other pouch back here, which really could be for more storage, something you want to put in there, like an extra light. Something like one of these absolutely can just go right in there. Obviously you turn it off. The nice thing about the design of this bag is that while it can get a little front heavy, it doesn't typically fall over forward, as well as it does have a tripod holder. Or if you don't want to bring a tripod because it's extra weight, you can add some water. And it stretches out and holds it without coming out while you're walking. It's quite secure. A feature of this bag that I don't hear about very often is this little back pocket right here, where you could put your wallet or your keys or who knows what, and keep it secure to your bag. So just in case there's pickpockets or thieves around, you know at least this is secure to you and isn't going to be taken out of the front of it. If there was a version 2 of this bag, there are a handful of things I'd want to change. Mostly the separation between the top and the bottom isn't as secure as maybe you'd want it to be. I know that it's because you can take these out and use the entire thing like a regular backpack, but as a photographer, I don't want the stuff in the top to end up in the bottom. And I've noticed if I do put something up in the top, let's say a film camera, or maybe I throw my keys in the top, they do end up down here somewhere sometimes. So that is something I'd want to change if there was a version 2. Another thing I think I'd want to change is maybe adding a flat base on the bottom of the bag, because you kind of have to be careful how much you load into the front of the bag. Like a bigger camera, like maybe one of my Sonys, would make this bag tip forward and then it just lands on its front. So the way I do have it packed is, well, as you can see, it even is falling forward right now. But the way I do have it packed is pretty light with my Fuji setup. So that's something I'd want to change in a version 2. Another thing about this bag that you don't hear talked about too much is that it does have straps on the bottom, just in case you wanted to add another pouch or maybe another tripod because you are carrying water with you. it's nice that you have the option. Along with that, you also do have a side access pocket to grab the camera without having to open up the entire bag. So this is the first time I've done a video like this, a what's in my bag. It is a little strange for me because what's in my bag really depends on the type of job that I'm doing. If it's a simple walk around with my camera for a couple of hours, I might just throw my camera in my pocket. But what's unique about this bag is that it kind of bridges the gap between, say, something more like a pouch and something a little bit heavier where you feel inclined to bring more gear because you have more pockets or more space to do so. Some of you might look in this bag and think it's a little bit too sparsely packed, especially with all this space in here with this Fuji XE4, but as far as I'm concerned, the less you carry to achieve the same result, the better. This is a small camera, and it's not a big bag, but it does give you the option to carry something a little bit more than, let's say, just the Fuji XE4. You might want to bring a second body, who knows. Ultimately, a bag like this is the perfect companion to somebody who is really into the casual, everyday kind of photography or videography. Not only is it stylish and well made, it doesn't insist that it is a camera bag, which, when you're out on the street, is an asset.
I want to say thank you to Brevitē for sending me this bag so I could try it out and make one of these videos.
I have been using this bag for just about 2 months because I really wanted to get to know it before I made this review. And I have to say, ultimately, this is a great everyday carry bag. It has just enough space so that you can have some options while you're out without being overwhelming.
As always, I thank you for coming along on this journey with me. It means a lot. Until next time, and as always, adios.